Good afternoon. My name is Chris Adlam with Youth Pledge for Employers, and I'm delighted to be joined by Michelle Pollard, the Managing Director of Spider. Hello there, Michelle.
Hi there, Chris. How are you?
Yes, I'm not too bad. Yourself?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me along today.
No, thank you for giving up your time. It means a lot. And
No
I guess
problem.
my start for 10 question has to be can you tell me a little bit about Spider, what you do, and maybe the different parts of your organisation?
Okay, so Spider is the region's online job advertising company. We're 10 years old next year, which seems crazy because I don't even think we've achieved half of what I wanted us to achieve. So we've still got a journey to go on. We were born to help companies recruit online in a more cost-effective way. And typically companies would try and do it themselves. They might not do it particularly well, or they had to rely on more expensive methods. And not every company has a big budget when they're looking to recruit. So I had a little bit of a light bulb moment 10 years ago and decided that if we could package different platforms where clients could go to one place, use a multitude of job boards, have everything done for them for one low fixed fee, that could be a really good solution for them. So that's kind of where our background came from. In March 2020, we then acquired a recruitment agency brand called Polka Dot Frog, which is your more traditional recruitment agency. But yeah, we've been on a journey, to say the least, Chris.
No, it's brilliant to hear, and it's really nice to hear how I say you've gone from your sort of light bulb moment to actually sort of seeing the organisation grow and seeing the original sort of gap in the market you identified to seeing your organisation fill that gap.
Sure.
It must be so rewarding.
It's been challenging. I mean, yes, it's rewarding, but I think when you set a business up, you kind of think that you'll put lots of hard work in and it will just, it might take 2 or 3 or 4 years and then you'll be on easy street and the paved, it will be paved with gold, but it actually doesn't work like that at all. When you run a small business, there are always challenges. I do think a lot of small business owners, to get through what we've got through over the last few years, I think resilience has had to make a massive part of our armour. Rewarding, it will always be rewarding, but I think if you ask most small business owners, most of them are now unemployable because we do get a certain way of pushing things forward. So yeah, rewarding is one word for it.
No, that's really interesting, and I appreciate your honesty about, I say, the challenges and rewards. And if we actually look at that, before we look at sort of the recruitment side of things, and we actually look at as you say, being a small business owner, I'm assuming when you sort of made that transition to becoming a business owner, you probably had new skills you had to discover, things you had to learn. There might have been aspects of running a business that you hadn't come across before. So my questions are sort of what kind of things did you have to learn and sort of maybe teach yourself or learn from others in that regards? And 2, what traits do you feel you as a person had that actually allowed you to make that transition?
Okay, so the skills I had to learn. So I fell into recruitment when I was 18, so obviously only a few years ago, Chris. But
yes, definitely. I thought it was months
absolutely
ago. I would have said
only a few years ago. So when I've had a long career in recruitment, and I've worked for some fantastic regional companies. I've worked for some national recruitment companies, and I've worked for some global recruitment companies, all different shapes and sizes. But I always had somebody to go to. So if I had a problem with my computer, I could go to the IT department. If I had a problem with my pay packet, I could go to my finance person. If I had a problem with some HR issues, I could go to the HR manager. When you run a small business and you're on your own and you're building a team, you have nowhere to go. So some of the skills I had to learn were the more practical things of how does this computer work? Why doesn't it work? How does the printer cartridge plug in? I mean, really basic things like that. And I can remember when I first set up my first business, having some really major IT problems with a server, and me actually thinking and being quite tearful about the whole situation, because I couldn't get my mind to work in a way that it needed to work to sort out this IT problem. And it was so frustrating because I had nobody to talk to, and I had nobody to turn to say, why is this a problem? So that was quite challenging. So I think you learn some of the more practical skills. Juggling is a massive skill that, again, most small business owners have to learn very, very quickly. I think I'd always had the capacity to take on quite a lot anyway, but spinning plates, hugely important. So that was another skill. However, I don't think I would have been able to grow the business had I have tried for too long to spin the plates in as many ways as I did. So I did, within sort of 18 months of trading, I knew that I would have to outsource certain aspects of the role to allow for growth. So yeah, no, I think, yeah, maybe they're some of the more practical things that I learned quite early on. With regards to the second question, which was,
so it was maybe some of the character traits that helped you through learning these lessons and everything you came across.
Okay, character traits. Okay, so resilience, I've already mentioned that. You know, I get knocked down, but I get back up again. I think that should be the theme tune of every business owner. Resilience is massive. So if you come from a place where you maybe have had hard knocks and you've had a bit of a journey, even before you go into the workplace, recruitment could be a good place for you, because we are constantly told no in so many ways. Another thing that I think we've done, or I've done quite well, is I'm big on partnerships. So I really value my clients, obviously. We really value candidates, but I also value my peers, and I really value my suppliers. So you'd have to really do a bad thing for me not to be able to find a way to work with you as a supplier. And I kind of pride myself on that as well. I think we're a fair company to do business with, and we're a fair company to work with too. So yeah, I think partner collaboration, and I would say I'm a salesperson, and I think so many people will try and shy away from being proud of being a salesperson. And I think, again, if you're looking for a role and you're entering into the workplace and you get a chance to work in sales, don't poo-poo that as not a good career option. You know, I've been in the workplace since I was 18, and I've literally never, ever been unemployed, because I think some of the skills that I've learned as a salesperson, and that was initially telesales, field sales, regional sales manager, etc., all of those kind of roles have allowed for me to be able to build relationships, create contacts that I really, without sounding too cheesy, that I really cherish, and I have kept those relationships for years. So I think they're probably three of the main skills that I've made sure I've kept a hold of, and I'm kind of, yeah, I remind myself of those skills sometimes too.
No, that's fantastic, and as you should. I think it's really good to sort of reflect and, as you say, remind yourself of the skills you've got, the ones that you've honed, the ones that, as you say, have allowed you to progress through your, career journey to where you are now. And sort of touching on that, and you've touched on at the start there about how you've worked for recruitment companies on all different sizes, all different sort of locations. And if you're someone looking from the outside in at the world of recruitment, there are stereotypes, around sort of like, you know, high pressure, high turnover, long late nights, you know, impossible goals to reach, and those kind of things. And there's also plenty of stereotypes about, you know, lots of rewards to be reaped. You know,
Sure.
what would you say about those sort of stereotypes that might sort of hang over recruitment as someone who's been in the industry, as you say, and experienced it at lots of different levels?
Do you know, it actually makes me really sad when I hear people say that, Chris, because it is well known. It is well known for everything that you've just described. But how so? I'm going to be very careful how I answer this, because there are companies out there who will churn and burn. And there are companies out there who will give you high targets in short spaces of time that you need to adhere to, and it's all KPI driven. We have a bit of a mantra here at Spider and Polka Dot Frog, and it's always about putting the client at the heart of everything we do. So the pressure that I would put on my team isn't necessarily about how many calls they make, or how many CVs they send out, or how many campaigns they sell, or any of those. It's all about what will bring our client coming back to us time and time again. So as much as there's companies out there that have got that very high pressurized, KPI driven, you know, send out 100 CVs, and if you get one interview, brilliant, but if you don't, just send out another 100. I think, be aware that there are companies that don't operate in that way in this space. So I have a small team of 9. We have never gone down that hire and fire route. Warranted, we've had people join our business who have moved through our business, but typically they are sometimes more of the experienced person who we would expect them to be able to come in and have impact within, say, a 6 to 12 month period. But even then, there's a difference. You know, we would give somebody a 6 to 12 month period as opposed to a 3-month probation period. So I think choose, if you're going to look at recruitment, choose your place of work carefully and do your research and ask about KPIs at interview, which means, you know, what are they expecting you to do day to day? All of my guys will work on a monetary target, but they're not then mined into with regards to, I don't need to know what they're doing every second of the day, because we don't have that kind of environment. I mean, I've got 21-year-olds work with me. I've got 50-year-olds work with me. We have an environment that's quite diverse, but it's all about giving people autonomy, not micromanaging, asking for their input. What are their ideas? How can we make stuff happen? What's going to wow our clients? So I think they're all really different ways of seeing what kind of business you're working for. So yeah, that's what I would say to people looking to go into the recruitment industry. Really, you know, an interview is a two-way street. As much as the employer will be asking you what you're looking for, make sure you ask them what they're looking for and what a day looks like, and what can you be expected to do in your first month, 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months.
I really appreciate your sort of honest and insider view there. And I say, without going too much into my personal experiences, I've taken a step and tried to work in recruitment before. And I think based on what you said there, I definitely sort of ended up working with a more maybe old-fashioned or more stereotyped recruiter. And
Okay.
I definitely faced a lot of the challenges that you've described there. And if anything, I think I wish before I'd taken those steps, I had the advice you've just given there, in terms of, as I say, maybe actually take a little bit more time to look at the philosophy around their targets, the way they achieve them, and their, you know, policies ahead of that. So no, I appreciate your honest feedback there. And you talked a little bit there about sort of the people you work with, the people within your team and your organization. And I'm going to pose you a little hypothetical scenario here.
Oh.
And obviously, you've probably seen your fair share of CVs in the
Quite
industry.
a few.
Exactly.
Yeah, quite a few.
What I was going to say is, imagine we have two young people applying, say, for the polka dot frog part of Spider. And, you know, imagine they've got the same levels of experience, or maybe same lack of experience. If you're looking at their personal qualities, the way they describe themselves, and maybe the things they're doing in their spare time, what kind of things do you see that make you think actually you'd be really good for a career in recruitment?
Okay, so this is quite easy for me to answer, because I left school at 15 without a qualification really to my name. And when I bounced into recruitment, it was because I had a spring in my step and a twinkle in my eye, and it was really and I know that sounds so basic, but if I meet two young people, the one who can shake my hand, look me in the eye with a grin and say, "Hi, Michelle, how are you today?" And, you know, and have something about them with a conversation, have some good questions prepared for me, be able to chat. That's really important for a role in recruitment. That's really important in any role. It isn't always about that high level education background. You know, sometimes I feel really, really sad when I hear young people feel that they're going to be on the scrap heap because they haven't got the A levels they need, or they didn't get into the uni that they wanted to, because there's still so much opportunity out in the market for people who can just put their best foot forward and be curious and be enthusiastic and show maybe a little bit of passion is something that any young person can put forward as well. So my daughter now works in recruitment, not for me, but for another company, a global company. And I think she's probably learned quite early on to be able to engage with anybody with eye contact, with questionings. Don't always talk about you. Don't always talk about me. Let's talk about you, and having that two-way conversation. Really, really important stuff. And if you can portray a sense of passion about different aspects in your life. So if I see somebody that's maybe has some team sports involved, that shows to me they like, you know, they're team orientated. That's a big tick. I shouldn't say it, but I will. I want competitive edge. I want somebody to be competitive. I want somebody who's motivated. I want somebody who wants to better themselves. I want somebody who, you know, maybe wants to own their own house, or because as much as we're not KPI driven, we want somebody to want to earn a decent salary, but not in the same way that we go and ring bells and you know, that's not the environment that we have at all. So I think for a young person to go into recruitment, the first thing to consider is, do you like speaking to people? Are you interested in what the other person's got to say? Can you have a two-way conversation? And if there are things that you quite easily say, yeah, that's a very good starting place. That's a very good starting place.
No, that's brilliant. And I definitely echo a lot of what you said there. And doing this role I'm in, I've spoken to employers from all kinds of background, everyone from people who work in laundrettes to chemical and civil engineers. And again, you must come across, you know, multiple people in multiple professions. And actually, the most common thing I hear is that, look, there's this part of the job which we can teach people. The part we're looking for, as you say, is that passion, that enthusiasm, that willingness to grow and develop and want to learn new things. And, you know, if that person's got that, that's, you know, that's almost half the job done, because that's something that you know, an organization can't really teach you. You either bring that to the organization or you don't.
Sure.
And now really just to round up, really, it's just my final question, really. As I say, you've sort of touched a little bit about your career journey, Michelle, and now I want to sort of take you back. Imagine you could go back and speak to, say, 17, 18-year-old Michelle, you know, about to go out on your career journey, you know, taking into account the experiences you've had and the things you've learned. If you could give your younger self one final, well, not one final, but one key piece of career advice, what would it be?
Oh, I would say be braver sooner. That's what I would say.
I think that's a brilliant piece of advice.
Yeah, be braver sooner, because I think the energy it takes to run a business as you get older is one thing. But I would have said, if I'd have set up my own business in my 20s, I'd probably have been a multi-millionaire by now, not having this conversation on my yacht somewhere in the south of France, I would say. But so no, I'm being a little bit facetious. But yeah, be braver sooner, have confidence. I think as young people, sort of remembering you're full of angst and you're full of I can't do it and oh I'm not good enough and yeah, and why would someone want me? So I think be brave sooner.